Ooh.
What you know about that? Hey, it's classic right there.
Hey, that was a great meeting.
That was a great meeting.
What I love is how fired up everybody is about this.
Life Church New
everybody
York.
on our team, how fired up they are about
Yeah.
Life Church New York.
Everybody's ready to go. We're ready. Let's get it.
Here we go, right here. Wow.
Woo!
Let's go. So you got any, you feeling good? I mean,
I'm feeling
we're
great.
just a few weeks away from
Easter.
Easter.
We're launching. Everybody's excited. Our team's pumped up. We're ready to go.
We're doing this great series. This has been an
Series
amazing
is gonna
series.
be nuts, but I know we talk about that. Can we talk about lunch? I need to eat.
I'm hungry too.
I'm starving.
I'm taking you to a special place, my brother.
A place, special place. What's it called?
Uncle Lou's fried chicken. Uncle Lou's.
Why gotta be fried chicken though? I'm just saying.
What?
Well, we gonna eat some watermelon for dessert too?
Oh, come on.
Is that what's up?
We're going to Uncle Lou's because I love Uncle Lou's. Uncle Lou's fried chicken. They have this sweet, spicy love.
Oh, sweet, spicy. I thought we were
It's
gonna go to
amazing.
something, plant-based, organic, gluten-free, some no
They don't
cage
have-
birds.
They don't have any of those
Out
places in
floor.
Memphis. We down in the South, my brother.
We're gonna have to get some restaurants reupholstered. Uh-oh.
I'm still.
Why did it end this way?
We was supposed. My goodness.
Man, this is classic. But isn't it so interesting, though, how just even going to lunch can be so loaded in our culture?
Yeah.
Just going to go eat fried chicken as if everybody doesn't love fried chicken.
I love fried chicken.
Jesus loves fried chicken.
I would choose fried chicken.
He's got his own fried chicken restaurant. It's called Chick-fil-A.
You're crazy.
So this is it.
It's the place, my brother.
This
I know
is the
you got
spot.
a bunch of places like this in New York, but you know.
Oh, yeah. This is it.
Thank you.
So which one is my sweet spicy love? Man, this chicken, though, unbelievable.
I'm telling you, people literally come from all over the country and all over the world.
I would FedEx this, literally.
Let's go FedEx.
FedEx it back to New York. Is
I'm
that
not
good?
sure how good it would be FedEx, but all the people at FedEx appreciate you for.
For the little thoughtfulness
I'm
there.
gonna try one of these wings.
Yeah, I'm gonna hit it up. Man, I gotta just tell you, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Such a privilege to be sitting down here with you, eating and enjoying this chicken.
Man.
Right.
I feel the same way, Wayne. It is a privilege.
Well, I actually got one more question for you. What do you think about white privilege?
Is that dark meat or white meat? So we're starting the second week of this series, Black Fist, White Knuckles, an open-handed conversation about race, and we're going to talk about white privilege.
Yep.
Ouch.
Yeah.
It's actually hard to even say those words, but I have come to understand the validity of white privilege. We talked about this book last weekend, white picket fences. And really the book is about privilege, and specifically white privilege. And I think I learned a lot from this book, and I highly recommend it if you're a white person. Actually, you enjoyed it as well, so great for everybody. But if you're a white person and you just can't seem to sort of understand what this white privilege thing is about, or even privilege in general, great book to read. But here's a definition from the Oxford Dictionary. You can find a definition for white privilege in the Oxford Dictionary: inherent advantages possessed by a white person on the basis of their race in a society characterized by racial inequality and injustice. So here's what I've learned. I've come to understand that being white is not my fault, but my whiteness has brought an advantage. And to not recognize that, I think, is naive and maybe even arrogant. I found this quote. I thought it was amazing. Barry Switzer, who was a football coach and became a coach for the Dallas Cowboys, a white guy, said, "Some people are born on third base and go through life thinking they hit a triple."
Strong.
Yes.
Strong.
Barry came through on that one.
That's a home run.
Yeah. So, man, I'm trying to get serious here, bro. So, do you have a story? Can you think of a time maybe when you were on the other side of that white privilege, and maybe you feel like there was a disadvantage for you based on your color?
Yeah. When I was studying theology in Bible college, I had a white roommate. The school was predominantly white, and my white Irish roommate decided to come and live with us in New York during the summer.
Okay.
I told him to come home and hang out during the summer. Who doesn't want to live in New York City during the summer? And we were both looking for jobs for the summer to go back to college, and my sister was working for a large organization, and there were 2 openings in the mailroom. So
let's go.
Of course, we applied, and we both got the job in the mailroom. So we're back at my house, and we're hanging out, kicking it. We're so pumped. We're going to get to work together. We only had 1 car anyway, so we're going to, drive to work together. And he's like, "Man, it's so awesome, man. And they're paying me $11.50 an hour." And I was making $1.50 less. Now, we had the same credentials. Neither of us
no credentials.
None, which is none. Wasn't like we were going to college for mail sorting, right? Like
Same age.
Same, everything, the same. But he made $1.50 more than me, and it hurt.
Wow.
And my black sister got him the job.
Your sister's the one that got him?
Yes, and I was feeling like that at the moment. Like, how is that even fair or just?
Yeah.
And it was hard, but you know what I did? I didn't quit the job. I didn't get upset with him. I didn't say, "Hey, bro, how you gonna get to work though? That extra $1.50 that you got, that's gonna get you right on public transportation, right?" I didn't. I stayed working in that mailroom, sorting mail. And the next summer when I came home, I actually got promoted to the training and development department from the mailroom.
Wow.
I say all of that to say, sometimes you just can't quit. You gotta stay focused, even in the face of injustice.
Mm-hmm. I could have been that guy, Yeah. I mean, hard for me to understand that. And, I commend you for the way you handle it. I think a lot of people don't understand privilege. We found this great video online that probably a lot of people have seen. Some of you may have seen it before, and I think it's a pretty good way to understand privilege. So let's check it out.
Yeah.
Hey, line up, everybody line up. We're about to race. Everybody line up. Shoulder to shoulder. Take off your backpacks. Basketball, line up. We're about to race. Hey, we are racing for a $100 bill. The winner of this race will take this, a $100 bill. Before I say go, I'm gonna make a couple statements. If those statements apply to you, I want you to take 2 steps forward. If those statements don't apply to you, I want you to stay right where you're at. Take 2 steps forward if both of your parents are still married. Take 2 steps forward if you grew up with a father figure in the home. Take 2 steps forward if you had access to a private education. Take 2 steps forward if you had access to a free tutor growing up. Take 2 steps forward if you've never had to worry about your cell phone being shut off. Take 2 steps forward if you've never had to help mom or dad with the bills. Take 2 steps forward if it wasn't because of your athletic ability, you don't have to pay for college. Take 2 steps forward if you never wondered where your next meal was going to come from. I want you guys up here in the front just to turn around and look. Every statement I've made has nothing to do with anything any of you have done. Has nothing to do with decisions you've made. Everything I have said has nothing to do with what you've done. We all know these people up here have a better opportunity to win this $100. Does that mean these people back here can't race? No. We would be foolish to not realize we've been given more opportunity. We don't want to recognize that we've been given a head start. But the reality is we have. Now, there's no excuse. They still got to run their race. You still got to run your race. But whoever wins this $100, I think it'd be extremely foolish of you not to utilize that and learn more about somebody else's story. Because the reality is, if this was a fair race and everybody was back on that line, I guarantee you some of these black dudes would smoke all of you. And it's only because you have this big of a head start that you're possibly going to win this race called life. That is a picture of life, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing you've done has put you in the lead that you're in right now. When I say go, on your mark, get set, go! If you didn't learn anything from this activity, you're a fool.
Wow.
Strong.
Wow. Really powerful, powerful illustration. When we rewatched it this week in the green room, I was very emotional about it. And then I had saw this video before, but it hit home in a new way.
Me too, watching it together.
Yeah, we just both got really, really quiet for a while before we decided to put it in here.
It's pretty powerful. I think the quote that I love best about the book, the White Picket Fence's book, is privilege harms everyone. Mm. Those who are excluded from it and those who benefit from it.
Yeah.
And I think she does a great job, again, unpacking that thought.
Yep.
And I want to shift gears and talk about a subject that flows out of this idea of privilege and white privilege. I want to take a minute and talk about profiling.
Yeah.
Which is another uncomfortable subject.
Yeah.
And the result sometimes of profiling is horrific, devastating.
Yeah.
Death. You know, over the past few years, you mentioned 2016 last weekend, but it was like it seems like starting in like around 2014, there were these horrible stories, you know, of people like Tamir Rice in Chicago and Eric Garner in New York, right near where you are. Sandra Bland, Baton Rouge, had a few stories, and the videos and the stories are just hard to watch. Yeah, gut-wrenching. And they've created so much tension and pain. And I've had some really gut-wrenching conversations with black friends like you who have told me of intense moments when you've been pulled over.
Yeah.
And I remember one time, the first time a friend told me about having a conversation with his son, and that, you know, you put your hand on the steering wheel at 10 and 2 and you get your stuff out, and I was horrified. I thought, I haven't had to have that conversation with my son. It's not anything that I've had to think about or worry about. And that's why we're talking about these things, because there is an understanding that some people need to gain.
It's important.
And so you've got any stories? I think it would be great to, you know, unpack those and you know, talk about them.
A recent one actually comes to mind. Maybe just a couple of months ago, a pastor friend of mine, Pastor Jimmy Rollins, a great friend of ours, just another black guy that just, he and I do life a lot. And we both like to laugh a lot. And we both like to eat, so like good food. So I took him to this really nice restaurant in Westchester County where I pastor, my wife and I and our team. And it's in a predominantly white neighborhood. I'm talking like, you know, big $1 million houses, you know, golf club, country club, the whole nine. And I was pulling out of the restaurant. His daughter was with us. She's about 12 or 13, same age as my daughter. And we were pulling out, and I forgot to turn my headlights on, but we had just pulled out, maybe just about 2 minutes out of the restaurant, was driving down, and the lights came on in a police officer came and pulled us over. And the level of intensity of fear, if you know, Pastor Jimmy's a big guy, and I could feel both of us starting to shrink in our seats because you just don't know. It was on this street there was no street lights, you know, large mansions, gated kind of community situation. And he came and the police officer came to the window. I already had my hands on the wheel, of course, you know, making sure. I asked him, can I roll the window down? And I mean, we're sweating, you know, we are, the spirit is moving in the car right now because we are nervous. And he says, yeah. And he, you know, obviously asked some questions about, you know, but the first question that he asked that kind of bothered him, he's like, what are you doing here? And I live like 15 minutes from there, you know what I mean? So it was like.
Because you bougie like that, you gotta be, you up in those neighborhoods. We know.
Started from the bottom, now we here.
So you belong there.
No, we got a small place. We just want to clarify that. You know, the square footage ain't there. You know what I'm saying? But we moving on up.
You're in Westchester County.
We in Westchester. We made it.
And you're near where the restaurant was.
Exactly.
So you belong there.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, can I reach for my wallet? My registration's in the glove compartment. Yeah. Can I go and get it? And so much fear, so much anxiety for a routine and I'm thinking, I can't believe that I feel this, and he did too. Afterwards, we were silent in the car, and then his 12-year-old daughter's in the back seat, and we've seen viral videos of what could happen with a kid in the back seat. So it was one of those situations where you know that we're still in the middle of this in a big way. Well, you know, the things that I think about it in response is when I look back over it, first of all, as a black man in North America, I want the police in all of our neighborhoods. Yeah. The absence of authority always equals anarchy. So I don't want a community that doesn't feel safe. In fact, I want to celebrate our police officers that are doing great work every single day to keep all of us safe, right?
Yeah.
Like,
you know, in Memphis, we've seen a downturn in the number of police officers since a lot of these events started taking place, because it seems like such a thankless job and a scary job,
absolutely.
Right? I mean,
so we have to celebrate our officers that are putting their lives on the line, black, white, whatever. All cops are not bad cops.
Right.
You know, and I think the media is telling us a lie so that we can have more division. And to that point, I think that we have to make sure that our officers feel supported and cared for, that our communities are actually bridging relational trust. Because the truth of the matter is, when we get down to it, even though we have to have trust, police officers do need to be held accountable
Yep.
for their actions, and they also need to be trained, particularly those that are serving neighborhoods that are predominantly filled with people of color,
Yep.
that they understand
Yep.
that there are sensitivities that have been rooted and baked into the cultural DNA of our neighborhoods that really need some training and so on. But what I don't want to overlook is something that I think is powerful as we celebrate our officers, as we think about the challenges that are ahead of us. We all have a responsibility to switch the culture on this. So Micah, the Old Testament prophet, says it this way. He says, he has told you, O man, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you but to do justice and to love kindness and to walk humbly with your God. I think most of us would agree that God wants us to do good. He requires us to have a heart of justice, that we do need to cry out against systematic injustice. And when these issues happen, that we have to have a heart of justice. But the thing that I think that we miss the most, Pastor John, in our culture, I mean this, I think we miss it so much, is that God actually requires us to walk humbly. Both sides. We need to walk into our worlds with a sense of humility that I think is so absent from our culture. And when we do this, I think that we honor God. We can't just do the first two parts and not do the last, which means to walk humbly.
I love that. That's fantastic. So good. Let's spend the last few moments like we did in part one with some practical steps, some practical thoughts. Some of them are just to get you thinking, right? And to get you thinking and maybe to get you talking with your spouse, with your friends, just 5 thoughts. And what we thought we would do is go through these 5 thoughts, and I'll talk about maybe what they mean from a white perspective. You talk about maybe what they mean from a black perspective, just to unpack some different things. The first one, when it comes to privilege, when it comes to white privilege, is to acknowledge the issue and issues. White privilege exists, and it's an issue, and there are issues associated with it. And I think to acknowledge it is huge. I think it's, like they say, maybe half the battle. And no matter where you fall on the spectrum of privilege, I think you have to acknowledge.
And from the perspective of a black person, a black man, I think we have to understand that it's going to take time to unravel a lot of the things that we're seeing in our culture. So that means we need patience. But while we hold on to patience, we have to have optimism, and we cannot hold on to resentment around the injustices. We don't move forward holding on to resentment.
Number 2, to be empathetic. To empathize means to put yourself there. I think to put myself in the car with you and Jimmy and to feel what you felt. Sympathy, pure sympathy, means to feel. Empathy means to feel, but to feel in a way that you're there, to put yourself in someone else's is somebody else's shoes. And I think all of us need to empathize with those that feel marginalized.
I agree.
Every single one of us. We need to hurt. We need to hurt for them.
I'd like to add something here that we don't hear a whole lot, and I think it's something that needs to be said. Because the truth is, many white people are trying. They're trying to learn.
Can you say that again, please? Help me out.
Zoom in.
You already canceled me because I wasn't woke enough. So
the
I'm
truth
trying
is,
to be woke.
Many white Americans are trying. And they're eagerly trying to listen, to look, to learn, and hopefully forums like this help white people laugh about some of the
break the ice
a little bit. So I want to celebrate every white person, white American, that hasn't pushed eject on the diversity conversation, that you haven't pulled out, you're pressing in and you're saying, I want to make a difference with my friends and with the people that I'm calling my friends of different shades of color. I think that's a big deal.
I think that's worthy of a clap right there. And worthy of a, thank God for that. Thanks for saying that.
I want y'all all to still come to the cookout. You got to come to the cookout.
So number 3, let's not stereotype. Don't stereotype. I'm trying to move us on.
Great segue.
Don't stereotype. What do our moms say? Don't judge a book by
its cover.
By its cover. Too easy to put people in a box, right? Too easy to look at someone and make a quick assessment and assume they are a certain way, but you can't assume.
Absolutely. And if we're honest, we all have our racial prejudices and biases, right? We can't assume every Mexican person is a criminal. You can't, presume that every white guy in salmon-colored khakis from Vineyard Vines is a racist, right?
Right.
Every Arabic person is not a terrorist that's gonna blow your plane up.
Right.
We really just gotta lay down these biases that have really separated
So
us,
good.
these prejudices that if we're really honest and we have some of those things
Sure,
in our
oh, yeah,
hearts
oh, yeah.
that we need to release.
Yeah. I think the next one is be natural.
Yes.
Don't overwork it.
Yes.
I love black people.
My best friend is black.
Right. It's like you're over, Johnny Hill, who's one of our pastors, he and Ashley's white, he's black, and they have beautiful children, mixed children, and Johnny talks about how many comments they get when they are out to eat. And I think all of them good, but over the top, right? Like, your children are so beautiful. Johnny has said before, like, it feels like they're trying to say, we approve.
Yeah.
And, it's too much, like, just relax about it, and I feel like I've learned how to relax, and I've learned how to talk about things
Absolutely.
that are difficult things to talk about. And I think it's, doesn't have to be awkward and over the top.
I agree. I think God's calling us to an Acts 10 moment again, where Peter looks at that blanket filled with diversity and he's like, I can't eat that stuff. And God's like, don't call anything that I've created common or unclean. And I think that we have to get to the point where we don't call any person that God has created in his image common or anything like that. But to your point, I think I read this story about this white woman that had a life group at her church, and it was filled with white women. And the church started to diversify a little, and a black woman registered for the life group. So she's like, hey, I know you're coming to the group tonight, and should I call you black or African American? What do you want? And she goes, I think Margaret will do.
That's fantastic.
Her name's Margaret, girl.
Right. Number 5, we finish right here, is to press on.
Press on.
One of the things the Apostle Paul said, so powerful, I don't let the past hold me back.
Oh, come on.
I'm looking forward, I'm reaching forward.
Yes.
And I think we can't give up.
Yes.
Wayne, we have to keep pressing on.
We got to keep
pressing on. There's pain in the past, but there's promise in the future. There's something that we can reach for. I look around this room and I see promise. I look at your church, I look at my church, I see promise. And we're pressing on.
My Jamaican mama said, keep on walking, darling. We got to keep on walking because the work that we're doing right now, we still got stuff ahead of us. And if we could keep pressing toward that, we're going to make it, and we're going to make a huge difference.